wrestling fans, are you ready? For the untold numbers listening at home, at work, in their cars, at the gym, and anywhere else people listen to podcasts, from Keene in the Shire, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get hyped for the Penguin Club Podcast.
Oh, we're just getting started, baby. Because I stay hyped!
Welcome to the Penguin Club Podcast. It's that wrestling podcast that is just too sweet to miss. Yes, you heard it. I said too sweet because Vince didn't send me a cease and desist. Because I'm not the Young Bucks. I'm not the Elite. I am the Penguin. And this is the Penguin Club Podcast. Now, normally, since there is an NXT takeover this weekend, I would be previewing that. But we've got a huge card for the Wrestlemania. And, well, I don't know if you saw the things on the social medias the last couple of days. NXT is having all kinds of tournaments leading up to takeover as well. So I could probably fill 2 or 3 shows just going over the NXT stuff, but a lot of that, because it is very timely, well, I don't necessarily have the time to do a podcast previewing what tonight's NXT things are and then tomorrow's and all the other stuff. So let's just jump into WrestleMania, and then towards the end of the show, if I find that there is time to talk about the NXT takeover, we will. But the question on everybody's mind, well, not everybody's, and not constantly, but one big unanswered question: will the John Cena Undertaker match happen? And I think it will happen. And I think it's going to be American Badass Undertaker. Because, well, let me give you the reasons I think so. Kid Rock is going into the Hall of Fame. That induction is happening on the day that I record this, which is Friday. Might not be Friday when you're listening, but Kid Rock going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Kid Rock probably going to wind up having some kind of mini concert during WrestleMania. What better way than to, in the middle of, or at the end of the Kid Rock thing, he starts playing American Badass, and then you hear Motorcycle Vroom Vroom, John Cena sitting in the crowd or wherever he happens to be sitting. And then Undertaker comes out riding on the bike, circles around, and then winds up delivering some kind of promo explaining like he got lost going to arenas trying to answer John Cena's challenge. I don't know what excuse he's going to give for, oh, sorry, John, couldn't be here for the last month, but let's wrestle. But yeah, I do think it happens. I think that it is American Badass Undertaker, even though I realize that some people don't really like that version of The Undertaker. I liked it just fine, thought it was different, changed up the character just a little bit. I'll tell you the version of The Undertaker that I didn't really care for, and that was the corporate ministry Undertaker. So, yes, John Cena Undertaker does happen. Undertaker wins. Cena goes off and starts doing a bunch of movies. Tag team match. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I know a lot of people are saying that, oh, well, maybe Daniel Bryan winds up going over, and then Kevin and Sami, even though they were fired from SmackDown, they wind up getting hired by Raw. Well, I know that WWE always, they do put card subject to change on things, but they're already promoting Kevin and Sami as being part of a SmackDown in May in Worcester, Massachusetts. I know that because, well, I live not too terribly far from there. I already have my tickets, And the main event for that May 22nd SmackDown in Worcester, Massachusetts is Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles in a fatal four-way for the WWE title. Again, I know card is always subject to change, but why would they wind up advertising something that they definitely know isn't going to happen if they do, in fact, wind up sending Kevin and Sami over to Raw? So I think because it's already being promoted that they're going to be at SmackDown well after, and that was even announced well before the whole, getting fired thing. So I do think Kevin and Sami go over. I think Daniel Bryan turns on Shane McMahon. I don't know why. Storyline, there's all kinds of reasons why, but it makes no sense for Daniel to then align himself with Kevin and Sami, but I do think that that's going to happen. And then, they wind up having some kind of feud. I don't know. But yeah, I think KO and Sami wind up winning. And KO is going to wind up, in my opinion, or my prediction here, KO will pin Shane McMahon. Shane probably will wind up jumping off of something tall because that's what he does. The next tag team match, and this is the one that is happening because reasons, Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Now, this is not going to be the first time that Kurt and Stephanie have been in the ring together. Well, I realize they're not going to be fighting one another in this match, but there have been matches previous. I wound up looking through a wrestling database and saw that Stephanie and Kurt actually teamed up a couple of times, and then there were a couple of times where they were on opposite sides facing one another. You've got to have Ronda Rousey wind up going over here, and it's got to be a submission. She definitely makes Stephanie tap to the arm breaker thing. I forget exactly what she calls it, but there was that nice little spot on Monday when they had that sit-down forum town hall style thing where she asked Stephanie, "Hey, Steph, which arm do you wind up signing my paychecks with?" "The right arm. Why?" "I just want to make sure that after I break an arm, you're still able to sign my paychecks." And yeah, I know she stumbled over the line a little bit. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Didn't really take away from the thing. She got caught up in the moment. That's fine. So yeah, Ronda winds up winning, and hopefully this whole authority thing just winds up going away because it's such a callback to the whole Mr. McMahon Stone Cold thing that, yeah, it worked 20 years ago. You don't need to keep trying to do it constantly. Next, we have, and yes, I'm actually filling out my prediction sheet as I type this, or as I record this. That way I'm not having to go back later and figure out, wait, who did I say? And I didn't have time to fill this sheet out prior. So, next, we have a triple threat tag team match involving your WWE, WWE Tag Team Champions, the Usos, not the New Day. They're the WWE four-time Tag Team Champions. Yeah, so it's Usos, New Day, and Bludgeon Brothers in a triple threat. I do think you're going to wind up seeing some kind of, as they called it a while back, an Oos-truce, to where you do wind up having the Usos and the New Day work together, going against the Bludgeon Brothers. But then, as always happens in these sorts of things, they're going to wind up, after tossing Bludgeon Brothers out of the ring, Harper and Rowan, and being like, "Oh yeah, we've got them," instead of, like one of the two teams there going for a pin on one of the Bludgeon Brothers, they'll start fighting one another, and then that's going to allow the Bludgeon Brothers to come back and wind up. I would love to see the Bludgeon Brothers pick up the title, just because it would wind up being something completely different from what has been happening over the last, I don't know, it seems like 3 years that the Usos and the New Day have been feuding. It's not that it's a bad feud. It's a great feud. But you need to sort of, throw something different in there. And then I know there's the rumor of a draft or a superstar shakeup thing coming after Mania. It would not hurt to have either the Usos or the New Day wind up going to Raw. And that way, sort of, putting some distance, if you will, between the Usos and the New Day. And then, renew the rivalry in another year when they have another draft, superstar shakeup, whatever you want to wind up calling the thing where people go from one brand to the other. So, yeah, Bludgeon Brothers go over, and doesn't really matter who takes the fall. Now, one thing that could wind up protecting the Usos, not that they necessarily need to be protected, but if you have somebody from the New Day take the fall, then that would wind up, giving the Usos a little bit more reason to, hey, Bludgeon Brothers, you didn't actually beat us. We want a rematch. Although we know there's that rematch clause that, most of the time winds up being automatically invoked, but unless you're Finn Balor, then, oh, sorry, Finn, we're not giving you another shot at that title that you didn't actually lose because reasons. So, yeah, I do think that one of the New Day will take the fall, and Bludgeon Brothers go over. Next, we have the other tag team match, and this one is going to be interesting, mainly because we don't know who Braun's tag team partner is going to be. Now, I would love if the tag team partner was one James Ellsworth. Because, yeah, James Ellsworth got his start in the WWE as one of those local competitors against Braun Strowman. And somehow he wound up getting a call back a few weeks later and having that whole run. Now, you can't just have where, Ellsworth comes out, yay, Braun, I'm your partner. No. It's got to be a Cactus Jack, Mikey Whipwreck sort of scenario to where Braun comes out and, no, Braun, you've got to have a partner. All right, fine. First guy I see backstage, and then he just walks into the gorilla position, and Ellsworth happens to be there, and he just grabs him by the neck and drags him out to the ring, and Ellsworth is struggling to get away or something. So I realize that's sort of a comedy spot, right? But at the same time, it would just be so perfect to have James Ellsworth be Braun's partner and have it done in that way of just the first person I see. And yes, of course, Braun goes over and becomes the tag team champions. Now, I will say that I really liked the spot that they did on Monday where he tells Sheamus and Cesaro that he'll, introduce his tag team partner if they agree to a match. And of course they do. And then he comes out wearing glasses and a button-up white t-shirt that I've heard people say it was a lab coat. No, it was just a large button-up white t-shirt. And the commentary was perfect where Corey, wow, where did he find this guy? Oh, wait, it's Braun. But of course Braun said, I'm Braun's brother, I'm Brains. You get it? Brains and brawn. Yeah, so Braun winds up winning, does, I will say, about 99.9% of the work. There might somehow be some kind of tag at some point to where the mystery partner, James Ellsworth, winds up getting a little bit of offense in, or maybe just gets in for just a second and winds up getting his ass beat and then tags back in, and then Braun winds up finishing the match. Next, we have a singles match for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Yeah, there's no question here. Nobody is ready for Asuka. And no, Carmella does not cash in her Money in the Bank contract against Asuka after the match. Or I've heard some speculation. People think that she'll cash in against Charlotte before the match, only to then wind up being slaughtered by Asuka after the match. No. What I think is going to happen, Asuka just squash match beats Charlotte. The Raw Women's Championship match, Alexa versus Nia. Alexa is going to retain. Not because she pins Nia, not because she makes Nia tap. No. I think that Nia is going to wind up getting disqualified. And then, and when I say disqualified, I mean it's going to be one of these brutal beatdowns to where she doesn't, stop the attack, and the ref winds up, ring the bell. Nia, you're disqualified. Alexa wins. And then you hear Fabulous, and outruns Carmella, cashes in, and then just lays on an already beaten up Alexa Bliss. The ref counts 1, 2, 3, and your new Raw Women's Champion, Carmella. We have 4 more matches that we know of, not counting the Battle Royals, which I'm probably just going to guess some winners on the Battle Royals. We have a fatal 4-way match for the United States Championship. We've got Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal, and Rusev. And WrestleMania this year is happening on Rusev Day. We've got to have Rusev win the U.S. Championship on Rusev Day, and it doesn't really matter who he pins because it's Rusev Day, and it's the most glorious of days, and I think that he will probably wind up making Jinder tap out to the accolades, although it could wind up being, like a roll-up to Randy Orton. But nonetheless, Rusev winds up winning because Rusev has to win because it is Rusev Day. And if WWE does not have Rusev win, then, well, they're just pissing off all of their fans because Rusev is so over right now. He should be fighting for the WWE title, not the U.S. title, but he's such a great U.S. champion. Because remember when he was U.S. champion previously? Yeah, it was the most glorious number of Rusev days in a row. Next, speaking of, well, no, not the WWE Championship, but the Intercontinental Championship, where we've got the aforementioned Finn Balor going up against Seth Rollins, going up against The Miz. Now, I don't understand what the logic is behind the way WWE has been booking some of the lead up to WrestleMania here, to where they had Seth Rollins, Finn Balor in that really long match this past Monday. What would have made sense to me? Because what were they fighting for other than just, I'm beating you up? Yet nothing. You don't want to be in an incredibly long match this close to a pay-per-view. So I don't understand why Seth and Finn didn't do some kind of finger poke of doom scenario on Monday. And The Miz was just sitting there on commentary talking about his kid. Now, one thing that I'm curious about, at WrestleMania 60, 60, in 25 years, will we see a main event between The Miz's kid and Daniel Bryan's kid? Because, like The Miz and Daniel Bryan, they've already got their feud going on, right? So why not just have it be a second-generation feud to where Birdie and Monroe Sky wind up feuding, and they main event WrestleMania on the most glorious Rusev Day in 25 years. Now, this match, I know The Miz is only about, a month and a half away from breaking the record for the most number of days as Intercontinental Champion, but he didn't have the kid. His wife had the kid. He's probably going to want to take some time off to go spend time with Monroe Sky. So he's going to drop the belt here. If he doesn't drop the belt on Monday or on Sunday, he drops it on Monday. But I think Finn Balor is going over. And then what would make sense is Finn goes over Sunday. The Miz invokes his rematch on Monday because, remember, rematch clause. If he loses on Monday, then, he's got to stick around for another week or two to invoke his damn rematch. So Finn Balor goes over. The Miz winds up losing the rematch on Monday and then takes some time off to spend time with his lovely, lovely wife and the new baby. And then Finn and Seth wind up continuing a fairly lengthy feud, hopefully before moving up to the Universal Championship picture, because Finn and Seth both deserve to be in that Universal Championship picture. I think, giving either one of them the IC title will wind up, benefiting them a little bit by keeping them in a somewhat important storyline with a belt attached to it. But otherwise, I don't think that Seth or Finn really need the belt, but they definitely both deserve the belt. Next, we have the rematch from the Tokyo Dome from several years ago, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the king of strong style. And it's got to be the king of strong style, Shinsuke Nakamura, that goes over here. And, I've really been loving the build-up. I know that some of the wrestling podcasts that I've been listening to, they've not really been fans of the build-up here. But I've loved it to where Shinsuke, over the last few weeks, all he said to AJ is, "I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania." AJ, I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania. Knee to face. I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania. And then, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago, where they had the little backstage thing, and Shinsuke said something to AJ, and then AJ said, "Oh yeah, I know, you're going to beat me at WrestleMania." AJ, you need to have more confidence in yourself. Was perfect. And then 2 weeks ago, when Shinsuke looked like he was going for the Kinshasa, and then he just stops, looks at AJ, doesn't pick up a microphone, but he was close enough to the camera to where it got picked up, and he said, "Knee to face," and then patted him on the head. Brilliant. Perfect. That should have been the go home. But instead, this past Tuesday, they had the thing where AJ faked out the phenomenal forearm, and then he patted Shinsuke on the head. All right. But Shinsuke has to go over. These two need to have a long, drawn-out feud. And, it's just going to be, to steal Bobby Roode's catchphrase, glorious. Now, what's not going to be glorious is the Universal Championship match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns because, we know not for a fact, but I would say with about 99.9% certainty, or no, 98% certainty, because there's always a 2% chance of a botch, Brock Lesnar is going to lose and then go back to the Broctagon. Dana White issued something just a couple days ago saying, yeah, Brock Lesnar will be back in the UFC in not too long. Paul Heyman on Monday said if Brock loses, you're never going to see him in WWE again. He'll wave goodbye to you from the octagon. Now, maybe all of that is a work. Maybe it is. And if it is a work, congratulations, WWE. You totally played everybody, because everybody and their grandmother expects Brock Lesnar to wind up losing. Even though if these two were to get into a legit fight, Brock Lesnar would beat the ever-living crap out of Roman Reigns. But what you're going to see, or at least what I'm suspecting you're going to see, is Brock, puts a pounding on Roman, hits him with an F5, and because nobody's kicked out of the F5 in a long time, or as WWE wants you to think, nobody's kicked out of it ever, F5, 1, 2, shoulder up, kick out, crowd goes wild. Roman, holy crap, he kicked out of the F5. Nobody's ever done that ever, except for all the people that have done it previously, but ignore that. Just like John Cena has never tapped, except for the 3 times that he did previously. I think once or twice to Kurt Angle, once to Chris Benoit, but we don't talk about that anymore because, never give up, hustle, loyalty, respect. Roman goes over. Again, if Roman doesn't win, then it's going to be the biggest swerve of all time against the fans, because everybody expects Brock Lesnar to lose, because we all know he's going back to the UFC. Now, we've got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, where it's just going to be a bunch of people to get them on the card, which is fine. Get your payday. But at the same time, there needs to be some kind of reason behind the Battle Royal other than just get a bunch of people and, oh, here you go, you get a trophy. What I think should wind up being the prize, give the man a trophy, but also give the man a title shot. Have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal be basically a second Royal Rumble, to where the winner winds up getting to pick a champion and say, I'm going after that. Now, it doesn't have to be the World Championship. It doesn't have to be the Universal Championship. He could say, you know what? I want the IC title. Because it's mainly mid-carders in there anyway, right? But as it stands, winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal means diddly squat. I would like to think that WWE is smart enough to know that Matt Hardy, who is probably the most over guy in that match, he should be the one to win. And then he should wind up saying, in his own sort of way, I won the Rumble of, what's he call Andre the Giant? The 8th Magnificent Wonder something. I have procured this trophy, and now I seek to procure championship gold of the intercontinental kind, or something, and then you get him in a title picture. But instead, he's probably going to wind up feuding with Bray Wyatt, who might not be Bray Wyatt anymore because he went into the Lake of Reincarnation. Will he show up as Husky Harris? Will he show up as the original version of Bray Wyatt? Will he show up as something else? Will Brother Nero be at WrestleMania? These are questions we don't know. We also don't really know who all is going to be in the Women's Rumble or Battle Royal, and I'm glad they changed the name, but the trophy, I've heard it pointed out, it looks like ovaries. Yeah, it does. It looks like ovaries with fallopian tubes and some ribbons hanging off of it. You need to have either Bayley or Sasha Banks wind up winning that. And again, they should wind up saying something along the lines of, I won this, I want a title shot. But I don't know if WWE is going to wind up doing that. But you never know. Unfortunately, I will not be able to watch it live, so do not spoil things for me on Twitter. I'll watch the show on Monday at some point, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks with another show. Until then, goodbye and good night.